welcome back to a new episode of the JYMs Podcast. This is just you and me. My name is Deontay, and I'm here with Kandice. So this is my sister in Christ, Kandice. We go way back. Good old Trinity College of Florida alum. Great times, a great moment in life. Friends for how long?
I mean, dang.
What, 2016?
2016, yeah.
2016. How many years is that? I can't
That's
do
what I'm saying. Oh wait, that's almost 4 years. No, almost 9 years.
Yeah, almost 9 years.
2015 is 10 years.
So it's 8.
I'm tripping. That's close enough.
8 years.
8 years.
Almost 10 years of friendship.
Yeah.
Look at that. Ain't God good? All right, Kandice. So what we're gonna be talking about today, guys, is missions. All right. Kandice is a full-time missionary.
Yeah.
I've done some missions myself. Celeste and I both just went on a mission trip to Wales, so we'll be talking about that a little bit. And I've also done 2 other mission trips before that as well. So we'll be giving a little feedback on missions, as well as talking about Kandice's journey with being a full-time missionary. But yeah, this is the JYMs Podcast. This is another bonus episode. I think this is the 3rd edition of the bonus episodes, and we're going to be talking about missions today. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. All right, guys. So Kandice, if you just want to give us a little bit of a background about your journey with being a missionary, and just kind of speaking into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I am doing full-time missions with Overland Missions, and I've gone on 2 trips with them already. In 2022 was my first trip. I went to Zambia, Africa.
Okay.
And I was there for 2 weeks, and that was amazing. Then I moved to Pennsylvania, and I went back to Zambia for 3 months in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I was just like, you know, the verse, delight in the Lord.
Right.
And He'll give you the desires of your heart. Take delight in the Lord. And so that's what I did for the 3 months of while I was in Zambia. And during that time, the Lord was just like, I was just seeing, like, there's nothing else I would want to do here on earth than to do this. And so I was like, all right, I'm going full time. And so since September of 2023, I've been raising my support to go overseas full time, with Overland Missions. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, when it comes to missions.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Where is Overland based out of, you know?
Yeah, so the world headquarters are actually in Cocoa, Florida.
Really? Okay, Florida based.
So shout out to Florida.
Shout out.
Yeah, so and then their main base is in Zambia, Africa, called Rapid 14.
Okay.
And so everyone really filters through Zambia as missionaries.
Right.
Missions. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so give us a little bit of a timeline in terms of fundraising, right? And then let's say, speaking into existence, you hit your goal.
Yeah.
When do you go back out to Zambia, basically?
So in February of 2025.
Okay.
That's when the Expeditions Department, which I'm in with Overland Missions, will head overseas.
Okay.
And so next month is like jam-packed month. We have a lot of training. We have our conferences. I've been invited to their songwriting retreat.
Oh.
Because Overland Missions also puts out their own worship music.
Yeah.
It's on Spotify and YouTube. Check it out, Overland Missions
that's
music.
Tough.
But like they write their own music, and so I've been invited to go to that writing retreat. And so that would be all of January basically, and then the next month, should I be funded, which I'm really believing I will be, then I'll be heading overseas.
Yeah, God is faithful, so we're believing He's gonna do it. If you feel in your heart to give, all of that information will be in the description. I'll also link the Spotify.
Yeah.
I'll link the Spotify in the description as well. If I can't find it myself, I'll ask Kandice for it. She'll send me the link.
Absolutely.
And I'll attach it. But yes, that's awesome. So I'll definitely, we will be in prayer for you in terms of your training and just going and, doing your thing out there in the mission field. Moving into the next question, missions is very, very beautiful. I love missions. Obviously you love missions.
Yeah.
You're doing the thing. You're doing it full time, which it can be a little different, but I love missions. I enjoyed it. Every single mission trip I've been on, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the experience. So let's just dive into what makes missions beautiful to you.
For sure. So I know a lot of people out in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. They also do missions, but they do interstate missions. And so I want to touch on the basis of just because it might not be overseas doesn't mean you're not doing missions.
Right.
You know, like we could take a trip to Tennessee and that can still
Yes.
be missions, you know, even though it's in the States. So what I love about missions is being able to reach the heart of those who need Jesus.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's no matter where I'm overseas or if I'm in the States, the point of this mission is being messengers of reconciliation. And so bringing Jesus to the heart of people that need him,
Yeah.
so that they can be reconciled to God, is my favorite part of missions.
No, that's a fact.
As a whole.
Mhm.
And so if that's like too much of a spiritual answer, then in practicalities, when it comes to being overseas, it's, you know, getting to know other cultures,
Yes.
realizing that in the United States, we're all about us,
Mhm.
and we think that we've got like everything. We are privileged in the United
Very.
States, but like there's so much to learn, like music, food, just like
Mhm.
the cultures outside of the United States. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful. So seeing that different cultures and seeing the hand of God and the things that He's created,
Mhm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, having that heart for Christ, for one, I think is the most key thing to being able to do something like missions. If you don't have, well, obviously, if you don't have a heart for Christ, missions isn't going to go too well for you, because it's a lot that goes into it. But if that is not your foundation, if that is not your, you know, your core of your the core of your motivation, it's going to be a very very difficult time for you, because there's a lot of trials and tribulations that come with it. It's a lot of great things that come with it too, but if Christ is not your center, if that is not your core, it's going to be a tough time. So I'm glad that you said that, and you're going from that perspective, because when things are not as of a high, you know, in the mission field, you still have Christ at the center of it,
Right.
and that's going to push you, you know, past where human limits can take us, basically.
Yeah.
Also, you were saying about culture. That is what I find the most beautiful about missions is culture, learning new cultures, seeing different cultures, and seeing how they do their daily things, basically, you know, how they go about daily life in comparison to here in America. Not necessarily comparison, but seeing the differences, right?
Yeah.
And learning to appreciate, you know, some of what we do have in America, and then appreciating the life that they live, and some of the things we can learn from them as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I find the most beautiful about missions, is definitely the cultures. So what were you gonna ask?
Yeah. So since culture is like one of actually your favorite thing about missions,
Mm-hmm.
what's the kind of culture? What culture shock actually did you run into going to Wales?
So with Wales, culture shock with Wales is a very like willing and determined people, right? As a group, uh, I want to say like the 1904 Welsh revival. I want to say the biggest catalyst to that revival was the willingness of the people of Wales. They are willing to do whatever it takes when they get something good. Obviously, the Holy Spirit is good, God is good. When they felt that, their willingness, I think, actually played into a lot of why the Welsh revival happened.
Wow. Okay.
Just yeah, their willingness to stay in that moment, their willingness to say, I don't care about all the other things going on around me, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna dwell in this. This is great. What need do I have to move out of this? You know?
Right. Yeah. Like determination. They're
Right.
very determined.
Yes. Very determined people. That's something I picked up on them right away. They adapt very well in terms of, you know, in terms of culture. They all adapt very well. It doesn't necessarily matter who they are around. They don't try to pretend to be anyone else or to pertain to your culture. They will actually invite you into their culture. They will teach you about the things that they do and why they do it and why they love it.
Yeah.
So they're very passionate about their culture. So that's another thing. I feel like a lot of places, you know, you end up going to, they actually want to be more like America than being their own culture, right? So they're trying to imitate things that we do. But the people of Wales, they actually taught me some of their culture and playing rugby and, you know, real football and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You had anything else you wanted to add to that?
I mean, yeah. No, I think it's funny that you mentioned like how inviting they are
Mm-hmm.
in teaching others about their culture, because even in the places I've been in Africa,
Yeah.
they're very hospitable. They're like, yeah, come in and like let's show you how our life is. Like, we went to one house in one of the villages,
Mm-hmm.
and there, like you guys eat sunflower seeds. You guys know what sunflower
I love
seeds
sunflower
are.
seeds.
And so they have sunflowers, and for them to get their sunflower seeds, they literally have all these flowers laid out, and they have this like wood thing, and they're just whacking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do to get their sunflowers, and like they invite us into the things that they do.
Yeah.
Whereas like we have all these companies that they just distribute the sunflower seeds. We don't have to do any work.
Right.
We just go to the gas station and pick up some sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
But something as small as like being able to sit with a family in their home and beat sunflowers as we're able to minister the gospel to them. It's like a beautiful thing. Like they're inviting us in, and it's something you don't witness out in America in most places. It's just like conform to this.
Yeah.
We're not gonna show you, and if you do show like who you are, your different culture or whatever, that's cool, thumbs up to you, but we're not changing.
Right.
Whereas like in other places, it's like you have that opportunity of like learning about other people, and no, I
get you.
So I think it's really cool, like you were saying, how like they're determined and they're inviting, and they're not going to change their ways.
Yes.
But not in like a stubborn way. It's just like, this is who we are, and we like it.
Yes.
And we're okay. Yes. We're content. And
that's
not, how it is.
We're not trying to be you.
Yeah.
This is us. Take it or leave it, basically.
Yeah. I like that.
If you guys did not check out the process episode, go check that out. So what you were just talking about speaks into what I was talking about on that process episode. I feel like in America, we've lost a lot of traditional processes. Like, for example, to communicate with someone, we can literally type, send. You don't have to actually go meet somebody. You don't have to actually spend time with them in person. You know, we get rid of that process. So like you were saying with the sunflower seeds, the beauty of seeing that process is something we lose appreciation for, because everything nowadays is so convenient. It's such a handout. Like you said, we just go to the grocery store right across the street, pick up a pack of sunflower seeds, and that's that.
That's it, yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me, because I feel like the kids of today's generation would be much better off if they had that traditional style of process, and they would appreciate things a lot more, and not appreciate, but gratitude, basically have gratitude for it, be grateful for the things that they have. A lot of hard work goes into the stuff we have access to on a daily basis, and that's basically what Kandice was speaking into. So seeing that process, that's a beautiful thing. I want to say, like, seeing the people of Costa Rica and seeing like what type of places they live in. You know, they had like these 10 shacks, basically 10, like, I don't know, for me as a kid, we used to play with this type of 10 and build like little forts and stuff that.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they actually live in these things. So seeing that was another type of culture shock for me. Like, okay, they don't have a nice building, you know, climate controlled thing to live in, right? They have a few pieces of tin over their head, and that's practically it, right? So crazy culture shock for me specifically. But any other culture shock experiences you've had out in the field?
No, not really. I think it's funny enough. I got more of a shock coming back to America after being overseas for the 3 months I was over there.
Yeah.
I think they call it reverse culture shock. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Coming back, and I was like, wow.
If it's not called that, we're stamping that term right now.
Yeah. I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is called. But yeah, I think reverse culture shock was actually the biggest thing for me. Going there, I was just like so open to seeing what was new, knowing I was going into a territory that wasn't my own.
Right.
I knew that like there are gonna be things I couldn't see. Like in America, if a woman's breastfeeding, she might go to the bathroom or go to her car or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas in the villages, you're talking to her and she's just breastfeeding.
Right.
Because that's the norm, you know? And
right.
But those are things that kind of, at least overland missions, they tell you some of the things that you think are a little odd in America are simply normal in Africa, especially or specifically Zambia, like women holding hands and men holding hands. That does not mean homosexuality in Africa. Whereas if you see that here, we're just gonna assume, you know,
people assume the words basically.
Right. So I think Overland did a good job of like telling us a lot of things to expect going over to Zambia. So the biggest shocks I had was coming back to America and being like, wow. Like,
yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Kind of going into that, coming back from Wales, I had a little bit of reverse culture shock myself in terms of, for men. I mean, women can speak into this too, but for men specifically, lust is a huge factor. Married or not, it doesn't matter, right? Lust is a huge factor. All my guys out there know what I'm talking about, right? But just the in terms of modesty and just the type of fashion going on in America, you can see a clear difference. Maybe it just was the part that we were in Wales, or I don't know. But from what I saw and experienced while I was over there, the things that women wear over there, and even the guys too, the things that people wear over there is way more modest. They're not. They are not trying to necessarily be seen. They wear what's comfortable for them and kind of work around that. But I feel like a lot of the wardrobe over here is for the attention of other people and not necessarily for the person who's wearing it.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was one thing I noticed, and it's like literally as soon as we hit the airport, as soon as we got, I think we landed in like North Carolina or something like that. As soon as we got in the airport coming from London, when we got in there, I could instantly tell we were in America. Just looking at the people and like how they carry themselves and what they're wearing and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So that's a little bit of reverse culture shock there.
Yeah.
Any more on that?
No. Squirrel. Sorry.
No, you're good. These squirrels are crazy. All right. So, how many expeditions have you been on?
Technically 3.
Technically three expeditions.
Yeah.
All right. So, between those 3, give me how those 3 expeditions differ from each other, and which one did you like the most, and
heavens. Why? Okay. So the 3 that I've gone on were all in Zambia, but they were in different parts of Zambia.
Okay.
And so what was different about them, what I would say, each village I had gone to or I've been to, their needs were different.
Yeah.
In the sense of, we can go to principalities, and so like when you get to a village, you can tell, oh, there's a sense of lacking of something here. And I would say that the 3 different villages that I went to, it was different things that they were lacking in a sense.
Yeah.
Like the very first one I went to was in Chipepo, and it's also in Zambia, but it was in Chipepo, and the village, Chipepo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's where we went, it was just like a lot of people there were like, oh, we know who Jesus is. We read our Bible. That's why we're Christians. And that was it. And they would say they knew Jesus because they read the Bible. And so we saw, okay, you guys don't really know about the gospel. Like, you guys don't know who Jesus is by relation. And so that's what they lacked in Chipepo. And then we went, a year later, I went to another expedition, another village. And there, it was just a lot of drunkenness.
Okay.
But that's also a big thing. And a lot of, I'm going to specifically dial into Zambia, Africa. I don't want to say Africa as a whole.
Yeah. That's
so the country of Zambia, or country of Zambia. Yeah. And so it seemed like that was that. And then the very last one I went to, it was just very, very dark. These people, a lot of witchcraft, which is, again, that's a prevalent thing. Yeah. But it was just, the weight of it was different. And so
heavier.
Say that again?
A bit heavier
in the last one. So out of my favorite though, I would honestly have to say my last one. And that was because it was the hardest expedition for us as a team to connect.
Right.
But to see what the Lord was doing in that village, when we got there, it was like we could all feel it was heavy. The principality, it was so thick. It was heavy. It was not a heavenly principality. Like, it was really thick. It was very dark, and it was gloomy, and not the place, but like just the atmosphere. When we were setting up our campsite, and throughout that week and a half or whatever of being there, by the time we left, it was so much lighter. Like, Jesus was wrecking people there. There's beautiful transformations. And to see, I think it was my favorite though, because I was able to witness people that our team had witnessed to, witnessing to their neighbors.
Right.
So they were calling their neighbors. We're like, hey, we just found out about this Jesus. Come and sit so we can talk to you.
Oh, that's tough.
So to be able to see that, tough. I was like, wow, this village, God, they're in your hands, and it was different. So I think that was my favorite.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was the name of that village? Do you remember?
Oh man,
I bet the names are pretty difficult.
I don't remember, and I always ask my friend what it was,
Mhm.
and the leader, and he texts me, and I don't remember.
It's all good.
I'll
It's all
find it
good.
one day,
Yeah.
and I'll let you know.
All right, bet.
But I'm sorry, you can't know.
It's
I
all
don't
good.
remember, but yeah.
Yeah, y'all can't know. Y'all can't know.
I
It's
just
all good.
remember Chepepo because it's how do you forget a name?
Yeah,
like
that's
Chepepo, and
that's
it was my
pretty
very
simple.
first. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. So, well, one, that's beautiful. First off, so if you are having, like, if you're discouraged about going on a mission trip, you might have a fear of something like that, an environment that's more heavy in terms of darkness. That could be something you struggle with. I don't know, right? Don't be afraid. I feel like light shines the brightest in the darkest places. So you guys, y'all's light shine. You know, it was clear evidence there when you guys left that atmosphere was lighter.
yeah,
Right? That's because of y'all's light. You know, because of the Lord, of course, doing work in y'all's lives, impacting other people, and that spreading throughout that darkness.
absolutely.
Light penetrates darkness, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, that's beautiful. That's actually very beautiful. What advice would you give to either someone new in the faith who is, you know, like just on fire and they're running and they want to do missions, and or someone who might be experienced in the faith but want to jump into missions for the first time?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. I think for someone who I have so many friends who are like, I just got saved and just jumped into missions and and they're still there.
Yeah.
Um, not to say it didn't come without any issues or difficulties, but
Yeah.
I would say my personal opinion is for someone who has just gotten saved is to prioritize being discipled.
Yeah.
Because there is a certain type of zeal that we get when we first get saved, and we just want to go.
Right.
You know, we just want to run and tell everybody, like, look, guys, look what the Lord is, and He works through that. So absolutely, like, go and do that. Like when you get saved, go and tell, like the testimony of Jesus, spirit of prophecy. Like just go and testify of Jesus to people.
For sure.
But I would say, like, if they want to get into missions, just like going overseas, and if they want to do this like full time or something, if they're thinking they have this tug, to make sure that they're prioritizing being discipled, because that's very important. That's for my first answer. I would say that.
Definitely.
I don't know if
so
you have anything to add.
being discipled.
Yeah.
Yes, being discipled for sure. It is really hard to disciple others, or, you know, even teach others if you are not being taught or disciple yourself. So learn, be coachable, learn as much as you possibly can, because you're going to need all of that information, all of that training, all of that learning and knowledge of the word, of prayer life, etc. You're going to need all of that stuff in the field. It's very, very important. If you do not have these tools, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's much, much more difficult when you get out into the field if you don't have these tools.
And more sustaining if you do have them.
Yes.
The more it's just more sustaining. And for someone who is a believer and is like, oh, I think I want to go, regardless, I would tell every believer, regardless of what your location is, to go overseas and to do a mission trip.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you need to go and become a full-time missionary. I'm not saying that you have to devote your life to, you know, going overseas or anything, but I would encourage every believer absolutely to go into the nations and to be messengers of reconciliation, because that's what the Bible tells us to do.
Yeah. The Great Commission.
Yeah, to do, and I know I want to be so
like specific.
Yeah, specific in the scripture when He says to go out into all the nations, and that go means while in your going. So it does mean if you work at a fitness center, when you're there, you should be witnessing. If you work at whatever you do, you know, a hotel, or if you work at a gas station, or if you work with athletes, like whatever you do, you're supposed to go. But also going into the nations is still a part of that. And so if the Lord has given you time and the resources to do so, then do so. Yeah.
I want to say a pastor from TNOC or that was speaking at TNOC was saying, like, vocation, which is where you work, right? And like location. He had a nice way he put it together. But basically where you work, where you live, and like the places where you play, like where you have fun or whatever. But in all of those areas, we should be going and spreading the gospel, basically. So, you know, if you're at freaking Top Golf enjoying your time, I love Top Golf, by the way, so shout out to them. This is not a paid promotion.
It can be.
Yeah, it could be. Top Golf, talk to me. If you're at Top Golf, share the gospel.
Mhm.
You know, if you're wherever you're having fun, if you guys are going out for a night of bowling, be friendly. Talk to the people who are around bowling, doing whatever. You know, just be bold and cast your net wide. At work, definitely you're going to spend the majority of your time with your coworkers. The opportunity is there. Take that chance, take that opportunity, and preach the gospel to them. I'm pretty sure somebody did the same for you. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be a believer. But give somebody else that same opportunity. Why would you not share good news with them, right? If you have it. And as well, the place you stay, your neighbors. Stop being so closed off. Talk to your neighbors. You know, get to know some of them. They may need Jesus. I'm pretty sure all of us need Jesus. But you don't know what's going on in their life, man. Just give word into their life and go wherever you are, right?
Yeah, while
go.
when you're going. Yeah.
Yep. What advice would you have towards short-term missions? Okay, so let's do short-term missions and more domestic, like non-international.
What exactly do you mean when you say what advice would I give?
Let's say somebody who made it feel like, oh, I'm not actually leaving the United States. Does that count?
Discredit it?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that goes back to the very first thing I said about my favorite thing about missions, and it was bringing the heart of Jesus to those who need him.
Yeah.
I think it goes right back to that. My advice or my comment to that would be, if you go from Florida to West Virginia, which, by the way, that was my very, very first mission trip ever, in 2017, I think.
Okay.
It's not discredited because we went and brought the heart of Jesus to people who needed him. And we also were able to do other more practical things of like being able to serve and paint people's homes and doing this, that, and the third.
Right.
We were in relationship and we were able to teach them the gospel and sit down. So it's not discredited because you're still doing the work that the Lord has called you to do.
Yes.
Which is to be a witness and to testify of his goodness. So it's not discredited. Like, you don't have to go overseas to do that. And like you said, like, I honestly would say, like, doing it to, like, going and inviting your neighbor over for dinner and having a conversation with them, that's not discredited. So why would be going 1,000 miles away be discredited?
Right.
You know?
No, for sure. Yeah. No, that's great. I would even go further to say if you think doing domestic missions, if you think that is discredited or not as of a greater value, if that doesn't fulfill you, going to preach the gospel or sharing the gospel with somebody who's right here with you where you live, going overseas or going international, that also will not fill that void. So make sure that you, if you have the opportunity to do domestic missions, do it. If you have the opportunity to speak to your neighbor, do it. Because no matter what, preaching the gospel in general to whoever, wherever, is going to fulfill, is the most fulfilling.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't fulfill you here, right where your feet are right now, going isn't going to fulfill that either.
You know why? I just thought of this while you said that, because missions is not about location.
Yeah.
It's about the people.
Yes.
It's about the souls. And so obviously it's about Jesus, but it's about getting, you know, the gospel to those people. Right. And that's why, like, I'm agreeing with you, what you're saying. If you can't find joy in going to Tennessee or, you know, whatever, and you think you're going to find it overseas, it's not about location. It's about, are you wanting to reach souls? Right. And if that's your main focus, is reaching souls with the truth, which is Jesus, the word of God, then it doesn't matter where you go. Literally. Yeah. So that's our advice from us to you guys. Let's go into break down for the people how they can give, you know, for you to be able to go. How we can send you, basically, and just break down what that looks like for fundraising, and kind of give us a couple of deadlines also. Sure, yeah. So like I said, I've been raising funds or support for about a year now, a year and 3 months. Just checked my portal today.
Yeah.
So it's been a ride, but
Yeah.
God is faithful. Anyway, so ways that some people can help send me and help sustain financially overseas is by giving. I'm gonna say this. There's 3 ways that I ask for partnership, and it's with prayer, finances, and also resources. And when I say resources, I mean like maybe referrals of someone you know, or if you have gear or something like that. Mm-hmm. But right now, to help send me, my first deadline, like I said, is I'm supposed to be overseas by in February, mm-hmm. The first 2 weeks of February.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to be fully funded and by mid-January, mm-hmm. beginning of January, next week, today.
Right.
But before February of 2025, that's my very first deadline, so I can head overseas. I have about 18% left to raise, mm-hmm. Of my support. And when I say I'm building a support team or asking for partnership, that means that I'm asking for reoccurring finances.
Right.
Mostly it's monthly, but there's other ways that other frequencies of ways that people can partner with me. Yes, mm-hmm. They could do every 2 weeks, or they could do biannually, which means it comes out twice a year. Okay. And so there's different ways at which it can happen, but I'm looking for reoccurring. It's almost like a subscription.
Yes, subscription.
Yes.
So when you're giving, think of it as a subscription.
Yes.
You do the same thing for Netflix. It's not that hard.
Ow. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the ways that people can give. I have a donation link that is tied with Overland Missions, and it goes straight to my account. And like I said, so right now I'm 82% funded. I've got like 18% left to go. Mm-hmm. And I also am willing to break down what my budget looks like and why it seems like it's so much money or whatever, things like that. Willing to go through that, but that's the way that people can support. They have my link and they sign up for recurring giving. Mm-hmm. There are options for one-time donations. I have raised enough money for my deployment costs, mm-hmm. But if a one-time donation is all you can give, and you really truly believe that the Lord is asking you to do that, then that also works. But to get me to the field, I would need reoccurring. Yeah. I'm asking for reoccurring support.
Yes. So to be clear, the subscriptions are more important in terms of getting Kandice out into the field and going basically. That doesn't mean that the one-time donations are insignificant, but what's necessary right now are the subscriptions or the reoccurring payments. So if you're able to do that, if the Lord has blessed you to be able to do that, and it's on your heart, be in prayer. Don't just, if you want to, you can give willingly, that's fine. But be in prayer about it. Just ask the Lord. If not. If yes. But be obedient. Use this time as a challenge, maybe. That's fine. Either way. Kandice, I just want to say thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Much love. I truly appreciate our friendship and the time we've spent together. Where I am now in my faith, I would not be there without her, as well as James and Celeste and a lot of our other friends. I wouldn't be where I am, and she's a big part of that. She's a big part of who you are seeing today. She saw me at some of my worst.
Saw me at my worst.
Yeah, so we go back is what we're trying to tell you. We go back. I enjoy this. I want to say it's an honor to be your friend. It's been very beautiful seeing you grow into missions. Well, seeing you grow in general, first off.
Yeah.
But seeing you grow into missions and seeing you out in the field and just seeing my friends in general just doing things for the Lord and just not, of course, not falling away from the faith is beautiful, because a lot of times it doesn't play out like that. So I do appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you for going. Thank you for having that boldness. And I just want to give you your flowers. So,
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much,
sure.
Man.
This has been another episode of the JYMs Podcast. This is just you and me, and we will see you guys on the next one.